Hi, everyone, and it's all exciting. Welcome to episode 100 of Tea Time with Tiffany. We've gone through a lot together over these past couple of years. The show has morphed from video only into an audio and video podcast, and you can subscribe now through iTunes and other podcast apps on your phone. And we've developed a little bit. There's still so much that I want to do, and I'll get into that a little bit when we start to talk about books, because for the first time, I got a piece of audio feedback. I was really excited, but you know what? I don't have the equipment to be able to play it on the show. That's typical, isn't it? But it's okay. I'm going to relate to you exactly what Melanie told me, and the topic will come up in our book section. But we're growing, I think, in a really good way, and I'm excited about what we have coming up together this summer and for the rest of the year. So why don't we jump into our new kind of format? So if you're listening to the audio, you heard my new theme music. If you're watching the video, you should just go play the streaming audio link to hear the new theme music. I really like it. It's more upbeat, I guess, than what I was using before. The song that I was using before had definitely more of a tea ceremony kind of a feel to it, and this one is just an upbeat kind of a background song, but I like it. We needed something to change things up. So there's that. But officially we are now in our What's Happening segment. And let's start there before we talk about the other pieces that I'm going to be talking about on a weekly basis on Tea Time. So what's happening? I was off from work yesterday. My Anne was in her kindergarten production, and so they did a play showing the 3 books: The Very Hungry Caterpillar, Where the Wild Things Are, and Goodnight Moon. And she had a small part in each of them. Of course, all the children did. And it was very precious and cute. And I didn't think going in that I would be too emotional. I was okay with it, but today is her last day of kindergarten, and I am officially emotional about it. Henry has a couple more half days. The kindergartners finish up earlier than the rest of the school, so do the pre-K kids. So he has a couple. This is a New York State thing. We go really late into June. The K through 8 kids do. When they get into high school, they finish up somewhat earlier in June because they have final exams. They don't necessarily have an exam every day, but we go well into June throughout a school here. But the kids don't start until after Labor Day. The hottest time of year where we live is July and August, and so I think traditionally that has always been why, and we don't have centrally air-conditioned schools here, so they have not wanted the kids to go back in August because it's much more warm and humid here then, and so they go into June when summer is still sort of getting its footing. It's been obviously very mild, but not uncomfortably hot. That's usually how June is. And so then we don't go back until after Labor Day. So anyway, that's what this is all about, because I know a lot of people, your kids have been done for weeks or maybe a month, and you're thinking, what's wrong with them? But that's how we do things around here. We're a little strange. So Henry goes into next week, but Anne finishes up today, and I'm officially having a really hard time with it. I didn't have a hard time with it when she went from pre-K to kindergarten. I was excited about that because it meant that she would be in the same school as Henry. And I was a little emotional last year about Henry moving into 6th grade because that's officially the middle school part of their building. My kids are in a Catholic school that is pre-K, but pre-K through 8. And so it's just nice to have them in the same place. Henry switched sort of where he was located in the school, but still in the same school building. But the curriculum changed for him quite a bit, starting with 6th grade. But I was always okay with it. I'm not okay with him feeling a lot closer to high school. I'm very much not okay with that, but we still have a couple more years. So he's talking about where he wants to go to high school and such, and that's making me anxious, as most things do, because that's a big change. And B, he wants to go to a Catholic high school, and it's very expensive, and I don't know if we're going to be able to afford it. So, I'm not going to worry about it, though. It's going to work out the way the Lord wants it, I'm sure. We'll do what we can, but we'll look at all of our options, and I'm sure that it's gonna shake out just fine. Still a couple of years off, but Anne moving into 1st grade is here right now, and it's freaking me out a little bit. I'm not ready for my baby to be not in those cuddly little pre-K kindergarten years anymore. I'm really not ready for that. The Catholic school that they're in does not have a uniform requirement for kindergartners. So I have really felt like Anne is still in the pre-K kindergarten zone, younger than all the other kids, because they can just wear whatever clothes they want. Next year in first grade, she's going to be wearing the uniform, and that feels like a big change. I'm struggling. I am. I'm thinking at this is like personal. A little, I guess, not very personal, a little personal, but at this stage of my life, I don't think that the Lord is going to be blessing us with more children. I suppose you never know. But, I think that I'm into that part of life where that is much less likely. And I'm okay with that usually, because I feel like the Lord has blessed us very much with the two beautiful children that we have, and that this is, what we're called to do, is to be parents to these two children. And I'm very good with that. But I don't know, sometimes it's a little hard. Sometimes it's a little hard. So that's what's going on with me right now. Aren't you so glad that I told you all of that, bringing out the waterworks? It's been emotional. It's been emotional. There's also a lot of teachers, longtime teachers at their school, and this is not where I went to school, so you wouldn't think I would be that emotional about this, because I don't have the history with these teachers that some of the other parents do who also attended at this same school building. And a lot of longtime teachers are retiring this year, and I'm really emotional about that too. Henry's been there since first grade, and now he's finishing up sixth grade, so he's been there for a little bit of a spell. And the first grade teacher that he had that we just loved is retiring, so Anne's not going to be able to have her, which makes me sad. The principal's retiring, the longtime librarian is retiring. There's a couple of others that are not coming to mind right now. Like I said, I don't even really know these people. It's just all this big emotional morass. So I'm just doing the best I can with it. But I'm feeling a little emotionally needy, I guess, right now. I spent the day with Anne yesterday. She got out early from school after her play, and Mike and I took her out to lunch, and I took her to the playground and just spent a lot of time with her. Henry's been working really hard studying for exams, and so he's needed a lot of time to do that, but he's finishing that up this week. Next week I don't even know why they bother. It's a New York State thing. It's all these half days. They do have a final mass, which is really lovely. And so he'll have some more time freed up. I've been doing a lot of reading with Henry. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, so we'll come back to him. Some of Henry's friends, he's 11 and a half, but he's one of the youngest kids in the class because he has a late fall birthday right before the cutoff here in New York. And so some of his friends are already 12. Their voices are changing, and that's freaking me out too. This friend came to the door the other day, and it's not that I didn't recognize him, but he really looked like a different person. It hadn't been that long since I had seen him, I don't know, a month or so. He had grown. He had a growth spurt, and he got a lot noticeably taller in a very short amount of time. And of course, when he asked for Henry, he sounded like an adult. I was not ready for that. And I noticed that one of his other friends, who's moved away from this area, but they still talk on the phone, he called and asked for Henry the other day, and his voice had changed. All of these changes, my friends, are hard for me. Change is hard. So that's what's been happening with me. I've been fighting back tears and just dealing with all of this end of the school year growth spurt kind of stuff. That's what's going on with me. I'm trying really hard not to cry. All right, but let's move into our other new segments on my bookshelf. All right, so Melanie, this is what Melanie called in about. And Melanie called in and said that she is really looking forward to the new segments, starting with episode 100. Thank you, Melanie. I'm so glad that these are all topics that she very much enjoys us chatting about. So that is what we're reading, what we're making, craft-wise, whatever that may be, what we're praying, and then somewhat regular saint feature. That's not going to be every week. The saint. What am I calling that? The church triumphant, I think. I don't have anything prepared for this week, but once a month or so, I'm thinking that I will have a saint to talk about. But this week we are going to talk on my bookshelf. So here we are. And so what Melanie was saying, all of those things sounded interesting to her. And I had mentioned last week that I was going to talk during the On My Bookshelf segment this week about Harry Potter. And that was of interest to her. She wanted to know if I had ever read the Harry Potter series before. And the answer, Melanie, is no. This is the first time that I am reading the books. Okay, so I've seen some of the movies, but I haven't seen all of them. And I've never read the books before. I like to read romance and other types of fiction like that. I don't read a lot of what I would consider, I guess, fantasy. Um, I get it's just what's the what I'm looking for? It's just that some people love that genre. And although I enjoy movies from that genre, I don't always enjoy reading books from that genre. It's not that I don't see the value in what they're doing, absolutely. But when I read, the universes that I like to escape to are just different ones. And so I just, I don't really know if I would like them or not. So my good friend Sam had been encouraging me to read them because she loves the books. And for my birthday in February, she got me the Kindle copies of the first two books. And as you all know, I have never had really good vision. And so reading on the Kindle is so much easier on my eyes because you can increase the font and make it look exactly the way you want. And so with them being on Kindle, I thought, yeah, I'll definitely read those first two books. And we planned a read along for the summer. So I don't even know how long ago now, maybe a month or maybe just a little bit longer ago, we started The Sorcerer's Stone, book one. Loved it. It started a little slow for me. But as soon as Harry got away from the Dursleys and was going to Hogwarts, I was just enraptured. Loved the book. Absolutely loved it. So I'm reading it, and Henry says to me, "Oh, you're reading Harry Potter." Now, he had read Sorcerer's Stone before, had seen all the movies, but had not read past Sorcerer's Stone. And I said, "Yeah, I have them on my Kindle." And he said, "Oh, would you send them to my Kindle too?" Because he's just attached to my Amazon account. And I said, "Sure." So I sent them both over to his Kindle, and we've been reading them together, and it has been absolutely lovely. So we were both on pace as we read Sorcerer's Stone. We both loved it. We started Chamber of Secrets together, and now he has advanced way past me. He just is reading faster. So he has finished Chamber of Secrets. I'm on chapter 10, I believe, in Chamber of Secrets. Once again, I'm really, really enjoying it. So Henry has moved. Mike got him the print copy from the library of Prisoner of Azkaban, the third book, and that's what Melanie said was one of her favorites in the series. I'm on the waiting list at the library for the ebook copy of Prisoner of Azkaban. So, but last night, Henry finished that book. The library had the next book, which is Goblet of Fire. There was no waiting list for that one. So I downloaded that for him to his Kindle, and he started that last night. He's bringing his Kindle down, or the book, whatever he happens to be, whatever format happens to be for each book. He brings it down to breakfast with him and was reading it when he had the print, because they're not allowed to bring their Kindles to school. But when he was reading Prisoner of Azkaban in print, he was bringing that to school for during their reading time. Really, really nice. So I'm hoping, I just kind of accepted he's going to be way ahead of me. I don't want to hold him back. I wish we were synced up again, but I just don't have as much reading time, so he's going to be way past me. But it's just been a really lovely experience reading them with him and talking to him about them. And, with Henry, I feel like your first kid is your guinea pig, and you feel like you make so many mistakes and that they really get the short end of the stick in many ways. And so now, as Henry is going into these tween years, I've been apprehensive. This is uncharted territory. What does this mean? I'm not really sure what we're doing. This has been a really lovely situation, though, that has unfolded as Henry is getting older. You can share things like this. It really opened my eyes to the fact that you can share wonderful things like this with your kids and have conversations with them. Of course, I've made conversations with Henry before, but this feels like almost an adult. Like I'm talking to a friend. And of course, it's a different type of relationship with your kids. When they're still of minor age, you're not their friend, of course, in that way. But when it comes to something like this, that's a really nice, I think, little spin on things to be able to talk. And I've been really enjoying it. So I'm still in Chamber of Secrets, but I am planning on continuing on with the series. So that's where I am. Just this morning over breakfast, I flipped over to chapter 10. So it's going really well. Really, really enjoying it. The world itself is, sometimes with fantasy, what I struggled with is just feeling like I couldn't relate to the universe that we were propelled into. But with Harry Potter, I very much am enjoying that universe. It just straddles, I think, very nicely this line between, of course, being fantasy, but also just having relatable characters that you just really get absorbed in it. And it doesn't take a lot of imagination to become a part of it. So really, really, really liking it. And I also am a huge fan of his owl Hedwig. I love the owls. I want to have my own owl now. So all is well in Harry Potter universe. The other book that I've been reading, another series, it's an Amish quilt shop mystery series. Put a link in the show notes. I just finished book 3, which was called Murder Served Simply. It was a Christmas book, actually. There's 2 more books in the series. I'm really liking it. It's about a young woman from Dallas who inherits a quilt shop that her aunt leaves her when she passes away in Holmes County, Ohio. And she comes just preparing to clean it out and sell it, go back home to Dallas where her life is and her parents are, and just falls in love with the people and the area and decides, she is a quilter, so she decides to stay and move there with her dog, and she adopts a kitten in the series as well. Her dog has a lot of personality, very cute, named Oliver. And they move there and she starts a life there amongst she gets to know a lot of the Amish community, and as well as some of the other non-Amish in the area, and it's delightful. It's just the exact type of book that I really enjoy. Those cozy mysteries with a little romance and just very wholesome and lovely. So I've been enjoying those books as well. I really am dying to start book 4. The library has it, but I'm being a good girl, and I'm not, because I really want to power through Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban, because we want to watch, all of us, me, Mike, and Henry, want to watch the movies together this summer, and I'm trying to get to a certain point of the series before we do that. And I need to start The Well, because we're beginning our summer book club on Wednesday, so I'm going to be reading the first 4 chapters over the weekend. So I'm just going to wait a little bit and work on reading these things right now and then come back to those. But those are lovely, lovely books. And I've been reading them on Kindle as well. All right, so switching over to the prayer corner. Yesterday, I posted about the Sacred Heart Novena beginning, so today's just day 2. Today is Thursday, June 15th. So you can definitely kind of catch up if you want. The Feast of the Sacred Heart is a week from Friday. That will be Friday, June 23rd. I've been following along the link if you want to pray along with us. And the way that I do these monthly novenas is that I pray with a group of friends and we exchange names, and you get the person's prayer intentions. So I'm praying for one of my friends and her intentions in the novena, and it's really nice. So especially because with it being the Sacred Heart, you think of Jesus's great love for us and how his heart is large enough to encompass all of us. And so it really does feel like no intention is too small for this novena. So I have been praying along. If you would like to join us, please see the Pray More Novena link. You can just sign up for their email list and they'll email it to you every day. I also tweet the link that Pray More Novenas gives you daily when I pray the prayers, sometime in the morning every day. And I put the little Twitter widget back on the sidebar of my blog. I know somebody had asked me about that. I took it off at one point, just was like, I'm trying to clean up all the stuff that's on the side. And I think Cindy had asked me about it. And I said, well, you can, it had a link in the About Me page just to, over to Twitter. And she's like, oh, okay. But I was thinking about it and I thought, I should just put that back so that if you're not on Twitter and you visit my blog, not on a mobile device, but, on one of your larger devices, you'll see the side. And then you don't have to be in Twitter in order to see the links to the novenas that I pray. So it's back up there. If you want to follow along that way, then you can get the link to the prayers right from my tweet each day. So that's what I'm praying. Creative Commons. I've been knitting. So this week I thought I would talk about the socks that I just finished. And if I had been thinking, I would have brought them in to show them in the video, and I didn't. But I will put a picture in the show notes. So I was in a spring knit along with Expression Fiber Arts for a pattern called, this is tough to pronounce and I might mess it up, but the Kakurembo socks. I call them the arrow socks. They have arrows on them, and each sock is pointing in a different direction, which I think is really cute. So arrows going all the way around the cuff, and then on the instep of the foot, there's an arrow. One has an arrow pointing down and the other pointing up. And they're very cute. They're a spring green. And it took me forever to knit them. The pattern is free, so I've got a link to the pattern too if you'd like to make them. They're not hard. So if you do know how to knit socks using either double pointed needles or circular needles using magic loop, you would easily be able to make these socks, no problem. If you have never made socks before, but you've made other round objects like hats or mittens, ask me and we could get you making these socks. I really think you could. So they turned out really well. I'm looking forward to wearing them probably this fall. Next week we'll talk about the sweater that I'm working on, but I finished those. I started them in April, I think. So a couple of months. It's not that bad, but I wish I had more time to work on this stuff, but you know how that goes. So it feels good to have finished something finally. So I have a sweater that I'm going to talk about next week that I'm trying to finish for October. So I'm going to be knitting like the wind. I also need to start crocheting a shawl for a friend of mine that I want to give her for Christmas. So I'll talk about all of those things coming up in future editions of the Creative Commons. So we're at the 21-minute mark. We're going to wrap up. I really enjoyed our time together as always. I hope that you like our new freshened format. How are you doing? What's going on with you? Are you starting to read The Well for the Summer Book Club? Have you read Harry Potter? What kind of fiction is your favorite? Like mine is cozy fiction, especially mystery. Are you working on anything? Are you praying the Sacred Heart Novena? Write in and tell me all about it. Looking forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.